Dear students, I welcome you all. Today I am going to talk about pollen pistil interaction. As you all know, in flowering plants, one of the most important steps in a reproductive process is the pollination. Pollination in angiosperms is said to be indirect pollination, since the pollen lands on the stigma much away from the ovule, which is well hidden and deep seated inside the ovary. Thus, in angiosperms, the pollen brings out a tube which runs through stigma, style and then ovary, reaching to the inside of the ovule, rupturing there and releasing the gametes for bringing about fertilization successfully inside the embryo sac. This is called as siphonogamy, as a pollen tube carries the gametes to the embryo sac for bringing out fertilization. Mere random landing of a pollen on the stigmatic surface does not mean that it will follow the sequence of the said events and bring out fertilization of the egg inside the embryo sac. Instead, there are many vital cellular and molecular interactions which occur between the pollen and pistil, which prove deterministic in allowing or inhibiting the pollen from bringing about fertilization. The first interaction between the pollen and the pistil is pollen addition. The stigma of a pistil is the site for receiving the pollen grains. The stigmatic surface shows a wide variation in morphology and exudation in different angiospermic plant species. The stigma in some species does not secrete exudates and is thus referred as dry stigma, while as in other species it secretes the exudates and is called as wet stigma. The wet stigmatic surfaces promote the addition of most of the pollen species, while as in dry stigmatic surfaces such as those of Brassicaceae, the pollen addition is a complex process which regulates the pollen acceptance. Thus, the control of pollen acceptance in dry stigmas is exercised at the level of addition. Let us talk about how this interaction is brought about in case of dry stigma. The addition of pollen grains with dry stigma is under polygenic control. In Brassica, pollen addition increases with time, recurring almost half an hour to achieve a maximum binding. It is a well known fact that in Brassicaceae, the pollen coat or tryphene contains components that are implicated in mediating a cell-cell interaction between pollen and stigma. The pollen coat finds an essential role in attaching the pollen with the stigma. Its absence has been shown to turn off the pollen addition. The pollen stigma interaction influences or changes the structure of both the stigma papillae and the pollen wall. The interaction causes such a change in the pollen coat that it results in the development of hydraulic continuity between the stigma papillae and the pollen grain. Studies of pollen addition carried out on Arabidopsis thaliana showed that the stigma of the species bind selectively the Arabidopsis thaliana pollen with a very high affinity, and this interaction occurs very fast, consuming only few seconds after pollination. The monocotyledonous pollen showed a very little or no binding capacity with the stigma of this species. Pollen from various dicot species showed a range of binding capacities, but this binding could be easily broken down or washed off by a detergent treatment. The binding of Brassica campestris pollen, which is a close relative of Arabidopsis, was no different than other dicots and was easily washed off by a detergent treatment. However, the binding of the Arabidopsis pollen and stigma was resistant to the detergent treatment, therefore indicating that pollen addition is a highly specific event. The genetic studies have shown that there are some mutants called less adherent pollen or LAP mutants, which show less binding with the stigma. The mutant called LAP1 shows a gross defect in the exene structure, which thus proves that it is the pollen coat which has a role in pollen addition. There are two stigmatic proteins which are indicated with a role in pollen addition in Brassica. Both of these are members of the self incompatibility S. locus gene family. These include S. locus glycoprotein SLG and S. locus related protein SLR, also called as SRP. The role of SLR1 in pollen addition was determined in transgenic plants by down regulating its expression by antisense suppression. This resulted in the reduction of pollen addition, but the stigma retained the ability to support pollen tube growth. In wild type stigmas treated with anti-SLG and anti-SLR1 antibodies, the pollen addition was reduced drastically, therefore making it evident that these two proteins are involved in pollen addition. Further, these two proteins SLG and SLR1 are known to interact with pollen coat proteins in vitro. The pollen coat proteins are small cysteine rich proteins. Two members PCPA1 and PCPA2 are known to interact with SLG and SLR1 in vivo, thus confirming some role of these proteins in pollen addition. Now, let us come to the second interaction, that is pollen hydration. After pollen addition to the stigma, the pollen hydration is a critical event for the successful pollen germination or pollen tube growth. The process of hydration is supposed to have a divergent mechanisms in angiosperms, since there is a wide diversity in the nature of the stigmatic surfaces in the angiospermic group as a whole. However, the outcome of hydration seems to be common in all cases, which results in a wholesale reorganization of the vegetative cell. There is a substantial body of evidences which involve the long chain lipids as the agents which act as signals to stimulate pollen hydration. Mutants with defects in lipid biosynthesis in the stigma show defects in pollen hydration. The SER and POP1 mutants having defects in pollen hydration have defects in lipid biosynthesis. The exogenous application of long chain lipid trinoline, which is one among the exudate lipids, caused normal pollen hydration in POP1 mutants. The role of exudates in pollen hydration is best exemplified by Nicotiana, where the pollen grains which adhere at the top of the papillae above the level of exudates fail to hydrate, making it apparent that exudates are candidly involved in pollen hydration. Although lipids are fixed for having a role in pollen hydration, but there are evidences also which show that there are some other molecular moieties which have a role in pollen hydration. The mutation in the most abundant coat protein, that is the loss of oleosin domain JRP17 in Arabidopsis thaliana, delayed the pollen hydration ability by threefold as compared to the wild type. The delay in hydration is attributed to the inaccurate interaction of pollen with stigma owing to this mutation, which indicates that this protein may also have a role in pollen hydration. The pollen hydration also implicates stigmatic proteins called as aquaporins. Aquaporins are water channel proteins which, in addition to their role in cell compatibility, also regulate the process of pollen hydration. Now, we come to the next stage of the interactions, that is pollen germination and pollen tube growth in stigma. After successful hydration, the pollen must germinate. The pollen tube emerges and starts growing in the stigma and then reaching the style. The initial penetration of the pollen tube into the stigmatic tissue at the outset varies from species to species. In Arabidopsis thaliana, the pollen tube has been found to penetrate the cuticle and then growing in between the cuticle and the main body of the cell wall till it reaches to the base of the cell. Then it enters the stigma transmitting tissue, where it grows through the intercellular spaces. In members of family Asteraceae, the pollen tubes show extracellular growth to reach the base of the papillae, and then they progress through the middle lamellae of the cells. The lipids in the exudates are implicated for their role in directing the pollen tube growth by controlling the water flow to the pollen. The exudates are known to contain triglycerides as their major hydrophobic components. The hydrophobicity of the exudates is conceived to be a critical factor in the ability of the pollen to penetrate on the stigma. It establishes a gradient of water in the exudate, which is used as a directional or guidance cue by the germinating and growing pollen tube. After pollen germination of the stigma, the pollen tube grows in the style. Now, we will see how the pollen tube growth occurs in the style. After penetrating the stigma surface and growing through the intercellular spaces of the stigmatic tissue, the pollen tube reaches to the style of the pistil. To conclude, now we know that the pollen pistil interaction is a complex interaction where molecular crosstalk between the male gametophyte and female sporophytic tissue takes place at various levels in the pistil. This interaction governs whether the pollen may be allowed to bring about fertilization inside the ovules or may be inhibited from doing so depending upon the genetic nature of the pollen. Dear students, with this we come to the end of today's lecture. I take your leave and hope to see you in the next lecture. Till then, goodbye.